Hey team, hi, good evening, and welcome to the session. I heartily welcome you all to this session for AI for Business. This is a session by 360DigiTMG, and let's start with the session. So, first of all, we see online we have Kalyan, Lakshmi, Neha, Salim, Shruti,
Hi,
Saurabha. Hi guys, good evening,
hi,
and
good
welcome to
evening.
the session. So, we all understand that when you are here, of course, you want to know about AI and how AI can be helpful for your work itself, right? How AI can be useful in the work itself. And we know one thing, AI is everywhere, right? When we are saying AI is everywhere, it doesn't matter which domain you belong to, AI is touching that domain, right? And that's the reason, that's the sole reason we all want to upskill ourselves. And yes, you are at the right place. So today we'll talk about all these things, right? How AI can be useful in 5 to 6 domains. We'll be taking 5 to 6 domains here. AI is applicable in all the domains. I'll give you an overview of the same of how AI is useful in 5 to 6 domains. And we have done at AiSPRY, we have done projects that I'll be showing so that you understand what type of application AI has, right? So to drive this session further, I'll launch a poll question and I request all of you to answer those poll questions so that we can smoothly drive this session, right? I'll be understanding what is the audience I'm dealing with and what they are doing, what they are into, and what they want from this session, right? So there's a poll question launch. I request all of you so to please poll or to please vote. Okay, I got one response. Friends, I request all of you, Amol, Kalyan, Lakshmi, Neha, Salim, Shruti, Saurabha, to please vote. Sure, Salim. Okay, so basically, when we are talking about your interest in AI for business, we can clearly see out of 5 votes we got, many of people want to implement AI in their company, and of course, some of them are here to learn and upskill in AI. Some of them are here to explore projects or internship opportunities, and of course, I can see one participant here to hire AI ready talent. Yes. Now, what kind of support are you looking for after the session? Of course, full AI course with project support. Okay. I can see help with AI hiring and just exploring for now. Great. Okay. So immediately you're planning to start your AI journey. And we can see most of us are students or corporate professionals or business owner or entrepreneur. Okay. I'll do one thing. I'll end the poll since got basic idea, right? So I'll end the poll here itself. And yes, let's talk about the complete process. Now, when we are talking about the audience I'm dealing with, some of you are the business owners, right? So some of you are students too, and some of you want to start implementing AI in your company itself. Now, what AI can do here, or what are the applications you can do here in this particular field using AI? So what this session will give you, or what you'll get from this session, you'll have clearly understanding of the practical AI application, right? Whatever we talk about, whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, we certainly don't know how it is going to impact or it will be helpful in our domain, right? So we'll be exploring practical and relatable examples. We have AiSPRY, that is our own consultancy vertical where we get projects, and we have done some projects related to AI. In fact, all the projects we do are related to machine learning and AI itself. So we'll be talking about those projects too. So you'll get a fair bit of idea. Right. So theory to real world scenarios, we'll be talking about exploring industry specific AI use cases. Yes, we'll be talking about 5 to 6 industries. How to link real business problems to AI solution. Right. This is something that we'll see. I'll be explaining some of the projects too In that way, you will understand if you have a problem, how to link it with the solutions too. And what would be the measurable benefits of AI upskilling? And how can you empower your professional growth through AI? So, first of all, let's talk about manufacturing domain itself. Now, in manufacturing, AI is impacting a lot, of course, in a positive way. So, when you talk about manufacturing domain, now doesn't matter which domain you're talking about. Maybe you're in paper and pulp, maybe in your machine, you're in machineries. Doesn't matter which domain you belong to. We always have value chain associated with a particular domain. Manufacturing domain, for example, if you see, there's, for example, value chain. What is value chain? Certainly, if you are from any business, you might not be knowing that, you might not be having domain knowledge if you want to implement a project for a particular domain. If you are into manufacturing domain, well, it's well and good. Now, to understand the value chain, we use the SIPOC approach. What is SIPOC approach? We generally get to know who is the supplier, what's the input, what's the process, what's the output, and who are the customers. In this way, we understand the value chain completely. So when we talk about manufacturing domain, it is very important to understand the complete value chain so that we can give insights to the client accordingly. And yes, we can implement AI solutions in that particular field. Now, manufacturing involves converting raw materials into finished products. Again, SIPOC approach will be really useful for you to understand the complete process, right, through efficient processes. What AI will be useful in optimizing operations. If you have a product, it ensures better quality of products. If there is a failure in machineries, we can predict that. Of course, we have done some projects. I'll be talking about projects too. Streamline supply chains. Supply chain is again a very important part of it. What would be the impact of AI in manufacturing industry? It will reduce operational costs. It will certainly improve the productivity of workers and in the manufacturing unit itself, enhance product quality and minimize the downtime. Let's talk about some of the business problem that we have in manufacturing domain itself. So, predictive maintenance. Let me give you an overview. For example, if there is a machinery, right? If there is a machinery and we know, of course, different depending on different factors, if we get to know a machinery is bound to fail, a certain part of it is bound to fail. So what will we do? We will keep maintenance schedule, right? We'll have proper maintenance schedule accordingly, and we'll get that part removed or replaced, or in such a way that it doesn't impact our business or production. Think of it when you are working in a manufacturing domain, and of course, your manufacturing is going on, and suddenly your machine stops. This actually hampers production a lot. And that's the reason predictive maintenance is very much important. Here, we'll talk about what is the problem here. If we have unplanned downtime when the machine is not working due to machinery failures, it will have production delay and financial losses. How to come up with? What is the objective here? We need to predict the machine failure proactively before it actually occurs, right? So minimize the downtime, schedule preventive maintenance, and all these things we talk about. And talking about constraints, of course, we need sensor data from the machinery itself. And of course, there are other constraints, there's budget constraints and all those things. Talking about automated quality inspection, it can be very much useful for QI, quality inspection, right? For example, if you use AI here, if you have a particular product, right, a particular product, and here, what are you doing? You have given a lot of images to the algorithm. And once you have given a lot of images to algorithm, the algorithm will understand what is a good product. Now consider that you have a camera in front of it, you are bringing a product. It will clearly at an instance identify if there's a defect in a product, if the product is proper or not, clearly giving an edge to you, right? Improving the product quality. So also when you talk about manual inspection process, it is slow, it takes time consuming, it is inconsistent. right? So to avoid all these things, we are doing automated quality inspection. Now, supply chain optimization, a very, very important topic here. Now, depending on the data, we can clearly forecast what's the demand. For example, if you are into heavy vehicle manufacturing, right? We have our own client from the heavy vehicle manufacturing domain, and we are doing projects for them. And here we are doing demand forecasting. Now, we are very, very certain when we talk about demand forecasting, it should be accurate or nearly accurate. There shouldn't be over forecasting or overestimation or underestimation. Overestimation will actually lead to a lot of inventory. That is, again, we are parking our money there. Now, underestimation will result in stock out, customer dissatisfaction. So, what do we do here? We use AI for the supply chain optimization, right? So, what do we do here? We optimize inventory levels and accurately forecast demand to reduce carrying costs and prevent stockouts. This is from manufacturing domain. Now, let's talk about something from IT domain or information technology domain. What do we do here? What IT does, it supports business operations, of course. What we talk about technology management, talking about the reliability of system, or if there is information handling, secure information handling, or talking about security of information, IT is very much essential, right? Information technology domain plays a critical role in this digital era. Now, we all understand that time is money, right? And when we are talking about the task, if you automate tasks here rather than just manually doing it, or we enhance security, data security, for example, or system security is very much important, right? Talking about issues, if we resolve those issues faster, for example, there's ticket that's raised, there are escalations. If you resolve that faster, you will be getting a lot of customer satisfaction, right? Thus increasing your product quality, thus increasing your belief of people in your system, right? It improves operational efficiency, of course. Impact of AI, we all understand. It increases productivity, enhances system security, reduces cost, and all these things. Let's talk about some of the projects. Intelligent IT ticket resolution. Ticket resolution, again, if there is escalation, right? If you are doing it slowly, if you're doing it manually and slowly, it takes time. Again, it leads to customer dissatisfaction. What are we doing here? Whatever, if there is, for example, escalation from different domains, what are we doing? We are automatically categorizing it. When we are automatically categorizing it, this ticket or escalation goes to particular department and they resolve it faster. Thus, intelligent IT ticket resolution is a way of doing it. Right. Talking about cyber security threat, again, we all talked about system security is very much important. And if you are talking about cyber security threat, that's a big issue nowadays. Making sure that when we talk about cyber security, there is a detection before it occurs, right? Early detection or mitigation. If there is cybersecurity or there is cybersecurity issue, it is detected early itself, and we don't get into a lot of losses. And of course, depending on the different factors, we can prevent it too before it actually occurs, right? Or before, if we think there is a lapse in security, we can actually make sure that we use AI to understand where's the lapse in security and we just cover it up, right? Or we just make sure that system is secure. DevOps, talking about deployment, whenever we talk about deploying the particular model or anything, or any software, for example, if it is manual process, we know it is inefficient. AI automates it, right? These are three applications, for example, we talked about in IT field. Life sciences and healthcare domain. Now, as a person, even when I came into AI and when I understood AI, the first question that I had was how healthcare is impacted, or how healthcare domain is impacted by AI. But while we are doing projects, I understood one thing. There are a lot of applications of AI in healthcare itself. We have our own course, AI for business profit, AI for healthcare, AI in healthcare, basically, where we talk about how a AI can be used in healthcare domain, right? So again, let's see what do we do here. Now consider you are a patient, right? Now, if you are a patient, it's very clear that some of the medicines work on you, some of the medicines don't work on you, right? It really it happens that depending on your body type or depending on your vitals, some medicines may not work. Of course, you might have noticed the same thing. Now, if there is a personalized medicine for you, a personalized dose for you, depending on your own vitals, wouldn't that be really impactful? Wouldn't that be really, really good? That will be right. This is one of the application we have in the healthcare domain. Talking about cancer prediction, if there's a doctor, and when we are talking about different factors that are actually impacting the that cancer growth, if we talk about those things, we can understand if there will be cancerous growth or not. If we talk about tumor, if the tumor is benign or malignant, cancerous or non-cancerous, basically, we can clearly understand these things. We can just see the image. If you just scan this particular photo or scan that particular area, you can understand if that particular tumor we talk about is benign or malignant, depending on different factors, right? In this way, AI is really very much helpful. For example, if we talk about image identification, right? Image classification, if we talk about here, in one of the project, we recently got an award in embryo quality detection project. Now, talking about overview, focus on improving patient outcomes, reducing costs, and optimizing healthcare delivery process. Why AI? It diagnoses accuracy, personalized care. We talked about personalized care, right? Patient monitoring and healthcare resource management. Of course, impact of AI in this field itself. Early disease prediction. Now, we all know during, for example, if we talk about fall, or for example, if we talk about winter, we know there is very high chance of flu. Now, before it happens, what are the different signs we are seeing? Right, depending on that, we'll clearly diagnose it. Or if there's a disease that we are about to have, we'll clearly diagnose it, right? If there is a disease that is in critical stages or critical stage, before it reaches the critical stage itself, we can clearly diagnose it. So early disease prediction is one of the application here. Late diagnosis of critical diseases leads to higher treatment costs and reduced patient survival rates. Early detection, again, that would be really very much useful if we talk about early detection. Now, patient readmission analysis. Consider there's a patient. And now, if we talk about a patient, we need to understand if we will be readmitted to the hospital or not, right? Doctors can also understand if the patient needs readmission in the hospital or not. Why would they need that? Accordingly, they'll do resource planning. They'll make sure that enough beds are available, right? All these things can easily predict using AI. High rates of hospital readmission increases the healthcare cost and strain resources. Exactly. So what we do here, predict and reduce patient readmissions through advanced predictive analytics. Again, there are some constraints. Whenever we talk about constraints, most of the time it's data consistency, if the data is proper or not. See, friends, AI is all about data, right? If when we talk about AI, we need data. So the model is trained, and the model is trained, so accordingly will predict something, right? So data consistency and availability is a big issue for all the domains. Doesn't matter which domain we are talking about. Relatively in healthcare, we have good data available. Now, patient data confidentiality is an issue, right? If we're talking about patient data, that is really very much critical. So we can't just give it to someone, right? When we talk about data security, even if you are doing a project, for example, as a data scientist, you are using it or you are trying to use the same thing in your company, data security is very important. So try to use it in cloud itself. Again, we'll talk about it later too. Regulatory compliance and resistance to adoption of by healthcare staff. Now think of it. we as human beings are very slow to adopt to the process, right? Whenever we talk about anything new, the first thing that comes out is resistance, right? So again, whoever is basically into traditional practices, talking about new technology, again, it faces resistance, right? So again, that will be one of the constraint. Personalized treatment planning, we talked about this one, right? Generalized treatment strategies result in varied patient outcomes and low patient satisfaction. You never know if there's generalized patient treatment. Again, the same one size fits all we talk about, right? It doesn't work in medical field. It doesn't work that way. We all know each of our body is unique, right? And our vitals are unique to us. Accordingly, we need treatment. Accordingly, we need planning. Again, AI can come for your use, or AI can come here to your use. Offer personalized treatment plans using AI-driven patient data analytics and recommendation system. What type of treatment you should go for? All these things can be recommended here. Now, let's talk about another domain, that is finance domain, another very famous domain when it comes to AI. Talking about finance domain, again, if there is a credit card, for example, there is credit card transaction. How will you understand? How will you understand if the credit card transaction is a proper transaction, or if it's a fake transaction, right? Transactions, we all know nowadays, this is very, very common. Even now, whenever you're calling something, there is an automated message that comes that there can be a fraud. Please be secure. Please be safe of all these things, just to make people aware of all these things. This clearly means that finance domain is really important too. Now, manages financial resources, risk and opportunities for individual and organization, right? What do we do here? What we can do using AI? Fraud detection. We talked about that. Talking about investment decision, if you should invest in a particular sector or not. Or, for example, if you talk about share market too, if you should invest in a share market right now or not. If you see right now, we all know it's a bit here and there. Accurately, it will evaluate the risk based on different factors, and we can actually automate our decision. Impact, reduce financial losses, enhance decision making, and optimizing profitability. Now, big problem we talked about, fraud detection. Again, we all are touched by that. We all know this, right? No one is untouched here when it comes to fraud detection. At least we have heard that there's one relative or someone, even in newspaper, we might have seen that there is a fraud detection. There's a fraud done on them, basically financial fraud, right? It leads to significant monetary loss and loss of customer trust. For banks, for example, right? It's very much important to make sure that there isn't monetary loss. If it's not the mistake of the particular client itself, or not the problem of, or not the mistake of the bank account holder, again, banks need to pay for that, right? So of course, within a certain limit. Implement real-time fraud detection system to minimize the financial losses and enhance trust. Constraints, again, fraud data availability. We need to make sure that the system, there's a speed and reliability in the system. We need to understand if there's transaction happening. We should understand if there's a fraud happening or not. Right? That should be very fast. If we see it after 1 hour, again, fraud will be done and dusted and everything will be cleared. Regulatory compliance, of course, related to each and every country, there is some regulatory compliance. Algo trading or algorithmic trading we talk about. Again, this is debated. Basically, algorithmic trading, some regulatory bodies allow it, some don't allow it, right? So here, when we talk about manual trading, it's slow and inefficient. When we talk about algorithmic trading, you are using algorithm or AI here to come up with fast decisions, right? It may happen that as a human being, whenever you are taking decision or till the time you are taking decision, that particular window is gone, right? So it just helps you to speed up the decision. Now, we need to automate the trading strategies using AI to enhance returns and optimize risk management. Again, data is important here. Regulatory compliance, right? Regulatory and compliance constraints. Doesn't matter now. And when you're talking about algo trading, you need to see if in India is SEBI allowing that. We need to check that, right? Also, if there is inaccuracy in the model that you are making, or as well as rapid market changes that are happening, that can again, and that's again and again a constraint in algo trading itself. Ultimately, it's an algorithm that will help you to take decision faster, but at the very same time, we need to make sure that we apply our own brain too. Credit risk analysis. Now, if there is a person, for example, we don't know, generally we talk about NPA, non-performing assets. That's a big issue for banks, right? If you are working in bank, we all know, we all read it in the newspaper itself. NPA is a big problem. Now, why does NPA? Because people are taking loans and they're defaulting. They're not giving the loan back, giving the money back, basically. Now, there are high default rate and financial losses. Credit risk analysis, based on the person's profile itself, will analyze if the person should be given loan or not. Right? If the person has credit worthiness, good, we can give loan. If not, we should avoid giving loan. And ultimately, depending on the business, if we talk about banking business, of course, ultimately it will depend on the manager, branch manager, all those people, if they should continue giving loans or not. Again, data accuracy and all is a issue here. Business constraint, that's a big constraint. Retail domain. Now, when we talk about retail domain, again, a very important thing here. Now, inventory optimization. For example, when we talk about retail domain, how much stock should be maintained, right? If there's overstocking, if there's understocking, India is a big country, right? Accordingly, for each and every state, we have their own festivals. If there's festival coming up, how much should be the inventory? For example, there's Diwali. How much should be the inventory that should be maintained? If there is, for example, we are in southern part of India, Pongal. Accordingly, we have to maintain inventory, right? If there is for demand, how much demand would be there, right? And at the very same time, whenever you're doing all these things, make sure, since it's retail, right, the consumer experience is excellent, right? We have to manage all these things. There shouldn't be stock out. If you have stock outs, that will lead to consumer dissatisfaction. Again, that would be a problem. What is the impact of AI here? It increases sales, improves customer satisfaction, optimizes inventory level, and enhances operational efficiency. Now, let's talk about some of these: customer segmentation and personalization. Now, you can't use the same marketing campaign for everywhere, right? You can't use it for each and every person. Again, for example, if you are selling a drug that reduces obesity, you can't sell it to a person who is not obese, right? Now, here, in this way, what we are saying is the generic marketing and promotional campaign doesn't work. You have to be very specific. If you're talking about personalization here in retail, that's a really big thing. For example, there's a person. If there's a person nowadays, even you have seen in apps itself, right? If you have an app, and in that app, if it's basically related to groceries, you might have bought something. And based on your previous experience, once the month starts, they'll clearly tell you, they'll clearly message you. You'll get the message in your cell phone, or that you'll get a ping that it's a month started. There is, for example, sale going on. There is low price, there are low prices for these things, and you can buy it. Personalization, right? That message will go to you. For you, that will be there. That particular offer will be there. Customer segmentation accordingly. Now, implement AI-driven customer segmentation and personalization to target specific customer needs and improving marketing effectiveness and revenue. Now, of course, when we talk about data privacy, this is a big concern when it comes to retail. For example, there's GDPR in European Union. Again, all these things we have to comply with. Sales and inventory forecasting, we already talked about forecasting here. if there is again excess forecasting or low forecasting, basically underestimation or overestimation, that leads to problems too. Again, when talk about the one more part, smart shelf and inventory management, right? For example, there's a shelf, and we know that that shelf can clearly assess if what product is being lifted, right? If you are lifting a product, it will clearly decrease a count from here itself, and it will give the alarm in the back end that okay, this particular thing is not available in the shelf itself, right? Accordingly, if we do, that will clearly increase shelf and consumer satisfaction, right? Inventory management method lack real-time visibility. Real-time visibility. If that particular thing is available with you at that particular time or not. Manually, what we do, we'll clearly note it. Next day, we'll go for it. This will clearly talk about all these things in real time, right? Talking about stockouts. If there is stockout happening in the real time, you'll get message beforehand. Smart shelf, right? Causing delayed stock replenishment and loss of sales opportunities when you use AI and computer vision. Again, computer vision, a very important part of AI for real-time inventory monitoring, alerting stock replenishment proactively to avoid stockouts. This is one of the very important application of AI. Now, when we talk about using AI here for your purpose, for basically in your business, what can you do here? You'll have enhanced decision making through accurate data driven insights. You'll be able to understand if there's observation on insights or not. If you're in senior strategic roles, oh, I understand when you talk about AI in business, most of our students, or when we talk about here, people here, they are into senior strategic roles. How AI will be useful for them? This is the big question they have, right? Also, operational excellence by significantly reducing cost and optimizing resource utilization. Innovation capability, of course, when we talk about AI, is growing. And once we understand how AI can be used in your domain, if you understand how AI can be used in your domain, of course, you will that will actually lead to organizational competitiveness and sustainability, right? Future proof skill set. Of course, the most important thing here, right? Career relevance amidst rapid technological evolution. Yes, that is very important. Now, these are some of the projects that we have seen here, right? Again, this is related to AiSPRY. Let's talk about the real-time projects that we have done. This was just theoreticals, right? I just talk about the type of projects that we are doing or we can do related to domain itself. When I talk about AiSPRY here, we are doing all these projects. If we see some of the projects in real life, what we'll just see an overview of it, right? Talking about our company, again, here is AiSPRY, founded in 2017 by distinguished IIT and ISB alumni. And of course, we have a global presence, achievements. Again, we have a lot of clients in India, Malaysia, and all other countries. Talking about projects that are delivered, we have delivered projects for major companies. We Tata Trust, IBS Japan, Avianca, Volvo, Rela Hospital, a hospital in Chennai, basically, Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages, Korean Air Yatra. Talking about Fortune 500 companies, we have delivered projects for them too, right? When we talk about a project, when we talk about any project in data science using artificial intelligence, we use a methodology called CRISPR-MLQ methodology. Very important to understand. Starting from business understanding, already you are in a particular domain. Domain understanding is very much required when it comes to AI. And I believe most of you, if you are implementing in your business itself, you understand your business really well. You're from that domain itself, right? That will actually be helpful. So business understanding, business and domain expertise is needed here. Data understanding, what's the data related to domain? If there's data available or not, or if you want to collect the data. Whenever we talk about any project, we have to go for a lot of research. If you want to implement AI in your company or as a corporate employee, you want to apply AI, you need to do research too. Data exploration or pre-processing, we want to clean the data properly, pre-process the data so that it is ready for model building. If there are some problems in your data, you can just clear it out beforehand so that the model get proper data And once the model gets proper data, the data is clean, we actually come up with the really good accuracy. And during evaluation phase, we give three success criteria based on the business itself, based on the machine learning models we talk about, or we talk about the economic success criteria. What's the profit that you'll be getting, right? So evaluation, deployment, we deploy the model considering different stakeholders, taking different stakeholders into perspective. We have to deploy the model too. And that's not it. Once you deploy the model, you have to go for continuous monitoring and maintenance. It may happen that the data that you have given to the model may have drifted. Again, that leads to data drift, right? Now, these are some of the things we consider. Let's talk about some of the project. Again, we take our students to here when we talk about 360 DTMG, we take our students to the client visit. This is a client visit to Amazon. This is basically in Bangalore. This is Swati, our student. This is our CEO, Mr. Bharni Kumar, and this is me, Bhupendra. So again, we have done project related to Amazon itself, right? And Surana Group, we took our students there too. We are doing projects for Surana Group too. Again, talking about Chennai location, there's client visit with students. They're biologically limited. Again, there's a client visit to Singapore Land and Transport Authority, right? So again, we are doing projects for all of them. If the students are not part of our visit, we make sure that we have videos available, of course, with all due permission of the authority itself. There's a client visit to this is basically the visit to JSW Steel. Our CEO went there along with our students. Again, let's talk about some of the projects. We talked about the SIPOC approach, right? When we talk about any project, we make dashboards. If you're working in a company, you want to make sure that you have dashboards available, or you make dashboards available considering different stakeholders, right? For example, you are working in a company that is having technological domain or technology, there's technical department, there's sales department, right? Then there's finance department. Accordingly, if we consider sales head, what they'll think, we will just ask three questions: who they are, what do they need, and why do they need it? These three questions generally we ask, and we come up with dashboards for each and every department. Thus, based on that, considering different stakeholders, we will give a 360 view of whatever project we are dealing with. Right. Now, these are some of the dashboard that we make. Even when you're doing projects, you will be making such dashboards. And of course, when you are doing good project, you're working really well, you get a certificate of appreciation. This is basically from Biologically Limited. SIPOC approach we already talked about. We talked about some of the forecasting projects, right? Forecasting is really important in the supply chain itself. When we talked about retail, when we talked about manufacturing, we really talked about the demand forecasting. So these are some of the forecasting projects. For example, that is cold forecasting. This is material forecasting we are doing here. Price forecasting. Okay, let me talk about this particular project. Here for what we are doing, the client we talk about is from Nepal. And here is the client here, it's a manufacturer, distributor basically for spices. What the clients want to understand when the prices of spice will be low, so that if there's the client can buy spices at that particular time and accordingly sell when the price is higher, right? He can buy it whenever the price is low, so that he can have more profit. Now we have wooden pallet forecasting. Again, pallets we talk about, we use in warehouses and all. Again, we are doing pallet forecasting for different companies. When we are talking about manufacturing units, right? When we talked about manufacturing domain, we talk about machine failure. These are some of the projects we have done for machine failure. For example, here the client is from Germany. We talked about prediction if there will be failure or no failure, depending on different uh, attributes, different factors, right? Accordingly, this is wind turbine failure prediction. Depending on the different factors, we will understand if the turbine will fail or not, so that we can have preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance. We can do all these things we can do. Talking about computer vision, a very important field, object identification. If we see, we've done a lot of projects here, friends. Now, this project is related to solar domain. Basically, energy domain here. What are we doing here? The client, again, he's from the client is very famous group in Chhattisgarh. They have 150 acres of land and 150 acres of solar power plant. And what are we doing here? We fly the drone over the solar plant. We understand if there's any issue in the panel itself, if there is physical damage, electrical damage, if there is dust, if there's bird dropping, all those things. And we can clearly classify all these things. We can identify if there are these problems. What happens then? We can clearly give a ring, or whatever the authorities are there. Whoever is the authority, they get message regarding this, and clearly they can understand that there is some defect in the panel, there's some damage in the panel. And once they understand, of course, they'll clear the damage, they'll make sure that the damage is removed so that the efficiency of the plant increases. Here, this project is related to, again, flammable item detection. There's a big furnace. Client has a big furnace, and there's a metal scrap. All the scrap is going in the furnace itself. Think of it. If there is, for example, a cylinder that goes into furnace, there will be a big blast, right? And that is potentially hazardous. To avoid that, we can clearly use AI to understand if there is cylinder, if there's shock absorber, and all those things, so that we can remove those things from the scrap itself and prevent any accident. Here, the client is Volvo. We are talking about sequencing of the clamping. If the sequence is not proper, after this, the next step would be welding. If the sequence is not proper, the clamping is not properly done. What will happen here? The welding won't be proper, and thus that will lead to a very weak part. Now, when we are talking about this, the client here is Volvo. Accordingly, again, the next project we are talking about is steel pipe detection. When you talk about counting these steel rods detection, when you talk about these steel rods, it's very clear that manually counting it will take time, right? So what are we doing here? We are using camera here, and clearly we can understand the count at once. So it is very much useful, right? Now, if you observe one thing, friends, we are talking about different domains here, right? In different domains, we have done a lot of projects, and depending on the drawing itself, for example, this bar bending schedule, creating bar bending schedule, depending on the drawing itself, we can come up with the shapes, right? Now, this is one of the projects here. This is related to agri-tech domain or poultry farm, for example. Here, what are we doing? We have this chicks, small chicks, and here we understand clearly what basically the problem client is facing. The client wants to know if the chicken growth is proper or not. So we are doing different projects in this particular domain itself. For example, the temperature monitoring, we do temperature monitoring. We talk about health monitoring of the bird. We talk about activity monitoring, if the bird is active or not, right? So, okay, sure. As we move further, now this is again from healthcare domain. The client here is Dr. Reddy. Again, we all know Dr. Reddy is a big company here. And what are we doing? Vial and pre-filled syringes detection. If you see the image, if you keep on counting this number of vials we have, it will take time, right? When we talk about doing all these things, when we talk about all these projects, friends, just using this project here, we can reduce the time itself, right? Manual error and all these things we can clearly avoid. Now, all such projects we have done, friends, and here, rather than me proceeding it, it would be really great. It would be really helpful if our CEO itself introduces you to all these use cases. And if CEO comes here and it talks about all these things. So we have our CEO, Mr. Bernie Kumar here. Hi, Bernie. Good evening.
Hey, hi, Bhupendra. Thank you so much for handing over the session to me. Would you mind
Sure,
giving me
Bernie.
the presenter access?
Yes, Bernie. I'm just giving you this access here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Bernie. I'm not the host. Rashna, I request you to
Yeah,
please.
that's okay.
Okay.
I have access now.
Yeah,
You
sure.
might want to stop the screen sharing, Bhupendra, so that.
Sure. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Bhupendra, and thank you all for joining in. And we need not just restrict the projects that we do to object detection. Yeah, right. We are automatically detecting number of vials and pre-filled syringes, right? And we need not stop it here. We can take it to one step further. And what we can actually do is yeah, we can create a database into which all these details will go and reside in. Okay, all the details of all these vials and pre-filled syringes which are captured, right, can go into the backend database. And based on this backend database, we can build an application similar to ChatGPT where you leave a voice prompt. How many vials did I manufacture in the last 6 months? This voice will get converted into text into SQL query, and it will go fetch the data from the database and display the results. So you can couple generative AI solutions with this as well. In that way, pipe detection, for Siemens, we have done object detection, many such projects we have done. In the space of employee monitoring, right? A lot of people want to monitor whether employees are wearing the safety gear or not, right? And if they're not doing so, their details will be captured and you get a compliance report like this. I am a chairperson for AI implementation for Indian road transportation system, and I work very closely with Government of India. Okay. And I work with the Prime Minister's office as well. So as part of that, we built a solution where we detect how many potholes are there, what is the area of the pothole, what is the depth of the pothole, thereby we get the volume, and we understand what is the geolocation in which this particular pothole was detected. Are these small potholes or medium or large potholes? And then we also don't just identify and stop it there. We also do prescription, recommendation on what is the raw material which has to be used. If we use raw material, will that raw material be green? Will it be soft on the planet Earth? How much will it cost overall? What amount of traffic disruption will happen? So on and so forth. We also did projects for Tamil Nadu Paper Limited, where using satellite images, we determine, we determine whether the trees are fully ripe to be harvested. So if you take the satellite images, you'll only get the canopy view, the top view, and every pixel here is equal to 1 square meter on ground. And using that, you determine the length of the branch. If the length of the branch is more than 3 meters, and that means that the trunk circumference would be more than 6 meters. Okay, so that means the trees are ripe for harvesting. These kind of interesting projects. We also did a project in the space of life sciences healthcare. This is one of our products, and we call this product as Garba.ai. In this Garba.ai, people who don't have kids, they go for this treatment called as IVF, right? In vitro fertilization treatment. And they take sperm from male, oocyte from female, fertilize outside to form something called as embryo. This embryo is grown in the lab setting, and embryologists under the microscope will view whether the cells are getting multiplied properly or not. And then with a lot of subjectivity, they implant into the woman's womb. After 3 months, woman will realize whether she is really pregnant or not. If woman is not pregnant, then this entire cycle has to repeat. So it is a costly affair and causes a lot of mental stress. Instead, thanks to our solution, if if you upload the embryo images, day 3, day 4, day 5, 8 cells, morula, and blastocyst, it will do the calculations, it will do explainable AI, and it will give you what is the overall morphological score. If the morphological score is higher, that means there is higher chance that if this image or this not image, if this embryo is implanted into the woman's womb, it will lead to pregnancy. Okay. A lot of Gen AI solutions we did using medical literature trained large language models, using RAG techniques and all. We did a lot of Gen AI solutions. This a lot of people are able to accomplish. It's the simplest of the task, I must say. Tender price prediction, Delhi urban local bodies to segregate biodegradable versus non-biodegradable items. On cement quality, we built projects. Tata Hitachi is our client, Indian Railways, Northwestern Railway Department is our client. If you just take a photo of your face, it will recommend what kind of what kind of skin treatment has to be given in the space of dermatology. Sports betting, we are doing a project for one of the largest sports betting companies in Europe. It's headquartered in Romania. We are doing an optimization project for them, so on and so forth. The list would go on and on. And I should say this is icing on the cake, where once we complete the project, we ensure that the project details are published on international journal so that we get some visibility. And this is a proof that the projects that we are working on are actually real world projects, right? Otherwise, the research journals, etc., will not allow our projects to be published. These are a few of the clients. Amazon is also one of our clients, by the way. I was just trying to figure out where that client name is. I think we will have to update the slides. These are all the different awards and accolades that we have won over a period of time. And the most recent project that we are doing is for a Chinese client where we are putting our machine learning algorithm inside the medical devices. And if a patient is in ICU, if the vitals are getting captured, it will predict whether the patient's health will go north or south. That's me, by the way, while I visited Shenzhen recently. All right. Thank you so much, friends. I joined late. Not late, it was planned in that way because I wanted to be here to take your questions if there are any, right? So I'll stop the screen share and we can also stop the live streaming.